Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Pokemon Center. Just kidding. Welcome to Boldores and Boomsticks reading by me, done by Takeshy. I know you can't see me, but you can hear me yet. That's just because I'm still eating. Give me a second. I'm gonna wash this down. This is not a mukbang stream. This is just me reading and butchering everyone's voices, obviously. Okay, let's see. We are probably gonna do one chapter today, because this is a longer one. This is a 10k word chapter, and we have a problem. That is the title. Mostly we have a problem. Yo, Quill, just in time. Welcome, good morning or good evening. I mean, it's good evening for you, right? You are like 30 minutes before midnight for you, if I remember correctly. Around that time. I'm waiting a little bit, maybe Ilya shows up as well, or maybe they are already here. While we are having fun with this music, because I'm pretty sure we are not gonna have this really nice music later on, because, well, the theme is not that funny, right? But just as I see that the names, just by not even reading, just looking at the screen, I can just see, oh, Jean, okay, we are going back to there, so we might still have some happy music, and Team RWBY stopped the fighting as well, so we might still have some music, good, happy music, or chill music, or funny music, who knows? But we can go back to nightmare time anytime. And in the meantime, I can get back to the voices. Ah, that's not a voice. I mean, it is a voice. But I guess not. Okay. Let's just simply... I guess we are ready to start, are we? Trying to wake up properly, because I woke up like 10 minutes ago, literally. No, it was 15 minutes ago, then I went to have a shower. And I went to sleep around 2 or 3 AM. So I need to wake up a little bit. But let's just simply start. Sure, let's do the Hidden Grotto song. It can be neutral. Today we are gonna use Black and White 2. Let's see the voice levels. It's not that bad. But I forgot that this is not the music. Just pep 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 pem. Sure. We have some tango. Chapter 13. More sleep? We have a problem. Okay, Ark. If you are going to be a successful huntsman, you are going to need to work your ass off. Just do that close approximation of attention. Yes, sir, Mr. Xiaolong. Your greatest asset seems to be lot of aura and the willingness to take big hits and keep going. We are going to leverage that so you can survive long enough for your sword to catch up. Here, this video training for today. John's side of the leash Taeyang had placed in his hand, and the planting Corgi sitting at his side. Walking shy, is it all? Pira ran, and Nora watched as John was hauled off his feet at ludicrous speed. Dirt, grass, small shrubs, and occasional irritative students were tossed in his wake as he was dragged face down across the campus, because Y is a lot, not just a normal Corgi. Taeyang watched their progress with a sigh of satisfaction. Mr. Young and RWBY is dead? Nora asked. What the heck is up with that pupper? Oh, so I is a descendant from Amramel, a lord of all corgis. Really? No, he's just weird. Ren watched as Swai changed their direction, and his leader went sailing past. He screamed muffled by a mouthful of grass kicked up in the corgi's wake. And does this training method really produce results? I don't know. God knows, I wasn't gonna walk him. After another day of hiking through the woods, Team RWBY had finally some luck. They stumbled across a well-used trail, complete with a signpost pointing towards the nearest town. Exeter? What a weird name, Young noted. Another 12 miles, Wise groaned, sailing under the weight of the pack. Other than 30 towards Aquatic City, Blake consoled her, pointing at the other marker on the signpost. We better get moving, RWBY suggested, the white slowly fluttering at her shoulder. The clouds are getting heavy, it might rain again tonight. Hunters are certainly capable of traveling faster than mere civilians, but trying to trace the weather for such a distance was a bit too much to ask. 2 hours later, they had made it most of the way to town, but the rain was about to start, with 4 miles left to go. Fortunately, by this time, they had begun to see outlying houses and farms, so shelter might have been at hand. They were passing the front gate of a larger farm, Orange, as the first drop started to fall. Before any of them had time to sigh or curse their luck, a voice called to them from the farmhouse's porch. Hey there! You guys need a hand? I don't know if it's a girl or a woman, but... Startled, they turned to see a kindly looking older man, approached and leaned across the fence. He had a sandy brown hair, shot through with little grey, and a mustache of the same color. He wore suspenders over a tough work shirt and rubber slacks, and his hands had the qualities of a man who works for a living. Well, someone says tonight's storm is gonna be worse than last night's. Not safe to be out like that. Yeah, but we don't have much choice. Just a little further into town, right? RWBY called back. Oh, it's a nice stroll on a sunny day, but trust me, those roads are a nightmare in the rain. There are stretches that don't drain properly, and it turns into a real swamp. Trust me, it will already be bad from yesterday, and it will be worse now that it's raining again. I don't think of you young ladies getting stuck out in that. Come on in, we have guest room here, and my wife loves having company over. Hopefully this is not the farm in The Walking Dead. I mean, in Pokemon you don't have to eat. You don't have to starve to eat. Oh well, that's nice of you, but... RWBY was cut off by a crash of lightning and thunder, and the rain got heavier. Yeah, okay, maybe that is a good idea. The man smiled as he opened the gate and ushered the girls through. It's no trouble, believe me, I am Shabby, and this here is the Shabby Ranch. Been in my family for generations, I'm proud to say. He led them inside, revealing a warm, homey little cottage decorated with family photos of members and mementos with eventful lives. Kimmy! Shabby called. Put on some extra for dinner, will you? We've got few travelers caught out in the rain. A woman with auburn hair shot through with grey and and as friendly looking as her husband, poke her head out of the kitchen. Well, so we do. Hurry up and get the boat here some towels before they catch that test of cold. I'm going, bossy woman, he said back, but the affection was clear in his eyes. The matron smiled at the girls and Zubat. How do you do, dearies? Since my husband... Oh. How do you do, dearies? Since my husband is not polite enough for introduction, I'm Kimmy. And just between us, I'm the only reason this ranch is still standing. Oh, pshaw, you old nag! Shabby was smiling broadly as he returned with enough towels to dry up for Goliath, and much less for teens and the Zubat. You know you would be lost without me. The banter was clearly a long-running pattern in what was obviously a loving relationship, and Team found themselves finally starting to relax. This was certainly a far better place to spend the night in a haunted mansion. Hopefully the Grimm doesn't come here. Because of the stories of what we have learned about that lost rich man who stole his arm. The Grimm was just following him and killing everyone they have met. Hopefully that doesn't happen here. I mean, Team RWBY didn't take away anything from him other than his army. Dinner was a lively affair, full of laughter and stories. So then, my fool of a husband, yes, forgot the cushion, go get the spatula, and from the day on, we made sure never to let the Grimer get on the roof again. I tell you what. You stayed on at the old base space? I hope the ghost type didn't give you too much trouble. Yep, the extreme Pokemon competition. It sounded crazy when they topped it up all these years ago, but it's gotten really popular since then. The girls had their own share of stories to offer, though they avoided mentioning Grimm or being huntresses. So then, RWBY, yes, justice will be swift, justice will be painful, it will be delicious! Best food fight ever! I remember, that's the season 2 episode 1, I think. I opened the door and then it's standing there. Oh. I opened the door and then it's standing there with a guitar and it actually sings. I lied! Some of the references from the show, yes. Of RWBY. Sun is in the tree just outside of our window and says, I do this all the time. And then Vi says, you what? He says, I said I climb trees all the time. I don't believe he realized why we were mad. By the time the meal was over, yeah. Wait! I just realized that. At that moment when I was watching that scene, it didn't pop to me. That sounds like he's always sneaking up in girls' windows. He is a peeping Tom. Haha. I really didn't realize that. By the time the meal was over, everyone had settled down a bit. Vice was thanking the couple for their generosity again. Please, there must be some way we can repay your kindness. Oh, hush, dearie. Don't you worry about it, Kimmy insisted. We have been sheltering travelers for years now, and you four are better behaved than a lot of them. Shabby nodded firmly. Definitely true. Speaking of that, just so you know, we have only got one guest room. That's not a problem, RWBY said happily. Back home we share a dorm. It's something we aren't used to. Good. Shabby levered himself out of his chair and smiled at his wife. You've outdone yourself again, dear. He snatched his bag and sighed in satisfaction. I'll go do the evening check. You get the coffee on? Kimmy nodded as she took up the empty plates, and Blake and Yang immediately got up to help her. Evening check? RWBY asked. Yup, looking out in the hatchery and making sure everything's working right. Why is Bling? Hatchery? Oh, didn't I mention? Ah, that's silly of me. This ranch is a Pokemon nursery. We take care of eggs and hatching Pokemon until we get either get them set up with a trainer or ready to make it on their own. Wanna see? Well, at least if they wanna see the eggs being hatched, not the eggs being made, right? The attached hatchery was just as professional as the main house was comfortable. The ambient temperature was much higher, the better to incubate the dozens of football-sized eggs in a stunning variety of colors and patterns that rested in a foam supports on metal trays. A few eggs had extra sun lamps positioned over them, increasing the heat, while a few others sat on a set of enclosed shelves attached to a refrigerator unit, chilling them. The floor was covered in springy rubber mats, just in case. Wow! RWBY breathed. There's so many! The four girls spread out, sweat hovering overhead, and they began to carefully examine some of the eggs. Each shelf had a clipboard hanging off the front, with the Pokemon species and some data about when and how it had been brought to the nursery, as well as any notes about the special care needed. It was an impressive setup. Yup, Shabby said. This is my family's pride and joy, and has been since my great-grandpa built the place with his own two hands. Of course, we have been sure to update and modernize over the years. He added, tapping on one of the sun lamps. Here you go, Han, Kimmy said, appearing at the door with a coffee cup in his hand. Thicker than mud and blacker than Darkrei's heart, just the way you like it. He scoffed as he accepted the mug, just because you taint yours with creamer. Bit late for coffee, isn't it? No, they just started. You bred raptors? Alan glanced critically and severely. Oh yeah. Need it. The old man answered. Some of the eggs are coming up on their hatching times. Probably won't be here for another week or two, but sometimes they will surprise you and hatch early. We always make sure one of us is close at hand, just in case. Easy enough during the day, but we need a little help. He gestured with the mug. To stay up overnight, even if shifts. He surveyed the room, looking over all of the tiny lives atop the trays. Nobody should have come into the world all by themselves, he said with a soft sigh. Well, there you go, Rice exclaimed, straightening up. If you want us pay you back any other way, we can at least let you both get a full night's sleep. The couples exchanged a surprised, then thoughtful look. Okay, let me think about what's gonna happen. One of them is gonna hatch, when one of them is here, and they're gonna think that they are their trainer. And it's gonna be one of the wild eggs that has been just brought here by someone who didn't have a Pokemon. Also, someone is calling. I'm gonna come back here soon. Give me a second. Well, they left. It was probably the postman. If it's the postman, they will just drop a letter inside. If it's not, I am not waiting anyone. I didn't plan to have any guests today, so it's their fault for not calling me before, and I have my phone right there. I can get their attention anytime. But what Pokemon do you think it will be? Well, I would have never guessed that RWBY would have a Zubat, so I have absolutely no idea. I have absolutely no idea, because there is a lot of Pokemon around. We know that Torchic is here, so at least like 300, 400 Pokemon already in the wilderness that can be. I don't even know which one of them is gonna get the Pokemon. But to have fun, it would be fun for Blake to have a Poochyena. Because it's a dog. And Blake is actually scared of dogs. And I would laugh if Blake would have a dog in the team. Because it would like, oh, it's a cat girl, I like her. If they're just hatching now, they should be too young to fight anytime soon. That is true. But there is still gonna be at least one of them hatching. Or maybe all of them hatching at the same time. Especially when Vice is gonna take their shift, and she's not ready for it. Because she is a rich girl and she never saw something came to life. But we will see. The couple exchanges surprised and thoughtful look. Well, it's not like any will be hatching tonight, just a precaution. Catching up on our sleep would be nice. RWBY gets Zubat because why the hell not? Yeah, because that's the Pokemon they have met first. Literally. It's settled then. Vice said firmly. We were taking shifts to keep an eye on them for you. And if any do hatch, we come to wake you. Great idea. RWBY agreed. I will take first watch if no one else wants to. Okay. Yang said, turning away from the orange egg with a pattern of vaguely flame-like yellow swirls. Then I will take... You will get some sleep, Blake interrupted. Between the tournament and the ghost, you have done more or less sleep than any of us the last few days. Seeing the rest of the teammates nodding in agreement, Yang grinned and shouted expansively. Well, if you're gonna twist my arm about it, I guess I will just have to get a full night's rest. There was a bit more hemming and hawing before the couple agreed, but it didn't take much more convincing. Shabby gave the four a rundown of what to expect and what to do if something did happen to hatch. Honestly, it's pretty simple. Newborn Pokemon are more like human toddlers, about 4 or 5 years old, instead of babies. They are pretty smart, even fresh from the egg, and they are pretty tough too. That is your answer. They might actually have a baby Pokemon, who knows? You don't need to worry about them too much. Really, the only thing you need to do is be there to welcome them so they don't feel alone. Then, once again they are comfortable, come wake us and we will handle the rest. RWBY coughed. I've heard sometimes something hatches the first thing they see. Kevin chuckled and placed a comforting hand on the girl's shoulder. Nah, don't worry about that, Nan. The Pokemon don't imprint like that. They know that the human is human and the Pokemon is Pokemon. Unless it's a phonus! Right? Unless it's a phonus. They won't think you are there, Mama. Honestly, outside that it's something that's hatch, it will be tried enough for the effort that the little darling will just roll over and fall asleep. After a few less words about what cabinets of Convince the coffee mugs for Captain, and other half from Minity. The Rangers and 3 members of Team RWBY headed for their homes, and the youngest took a seat on the battered old chair in the corner of the hatchery. It was a well-chosen chair for the room, comfortable enough to sit in for a few hours, not comfortable enough to easily fall asleep in. Zubert hung from the edge of the filing cabinets near his trainer's seat. Together, they prepared for what promised to be a few long hours of boredom. Someone was writing to me about something interesting. Maybe they will get a side dog and give everyone a headache. No, it's just them who is having a headache. It's side dog. RWBY relaxed in her chair as much as she was able. Zubert draped over one arm while she gently scratched? Probably scratched. Just behind his ears. I'm telling you, don't worry about it. I don't blame you, and neither do the others. Her friend mumbled, feeling guilty. It had taken RWBY a while to figure out why Zubert had been left subdued all day. Eventually, between his guilty attitude, his absence during the night, and a bit of charades, she worked it out. He felt like he hadn't done enough to help them with the ghost. Honestly, we saw how many of them were there. It's not like they were actually hurting us. But besides, you more than did your share when you fought Grendel and the Stalker. Zubert shifted in place, refusing to look at her. I'm serious. If you hadn't treated and corrected Samo, RWBY could tell it wasn't getting through him. She turned the little blue bat around. And gently tilted his head up, with a finger under his chin. Hey, look at me. You know what? I'm sorry. Just listen, okay? Bet? Zubert. I don't think I ever mentioned, but that sucker wasn't the first one I ever fought. Do you know what happened when I fought the first? Her little friend looked up, curious. I almost died. Zubert pushed himself up, mouth falling open. Zubert's bad. Yup. RWBY settled back into her chair, eyes unfocused as she told back to initiation. Had it really been just a few months ago? I thought I could beat it on my own, and I wanted to prove I deserved to be at Beacon, so I just charged in like a dummy, and I was surprised when my attacks bounced off. If I hadn't jumped in, it would have killed me. And also they didn't kill the Stalker, it was Team Juniper who handled it. Typos happen, that's fine. We are used to them, right? She smiles softly at her friends appalled expression. It took 4 others to finally beat the Stalker. Young, Weiss and Blake helped me kill a giant Nevermore. It was attacking at the same time. And you? RWBY lifted Zubert up to eye level, smile widening. You nearly beat one on your own. You broke his chair in 3 places with just a single attack. That's something I've never done. Not ever do. You saved us, you know that? Zubert stared at her without eyes, slowly shaking his head, unable to credit it. RWBY just giggled. I'm serious, those Grimm were working together too well. We weren't killing them fast enough, and all of the plans I made for fighting those things since the first time took too much time to set up. I wasn't sure how to turn things around, but you did it for me, all on your own. I don't know how to tell you how proud I was of you, or how glad I was that you were there for us. And even before then, back in town too, you beat another giant more. What did I say? Another giant more? A giant Nevermore. A giant Nevermore all by yourself. Took another out of the fight and got that Char lizard, whatever, It was to get rest. When I didn't know how to get them. You've been with us for just a few days, and you're already fighting like huntsmen. RWBY smiled at her little friend, resuming her gentle scratching behind his ears. I know you feel bad about how last night went. You shouldn't, but even if I can convince you of that, what you did before more than makes up for it. So cheer up. Who knows what we will do tomorrow? Who knows? Yep, indeed. Just give me a second, let me fix this. There we go. Zobot looked up at her, his normal expressive face unreadable. After a long moment, he lunged forward, landing on her shoulder, and spread his wing right toward her. Oh, are we gonna have a third of Remnant episode? This should be in quotes. But looked up at her, yeah. Because he can't look. Give me a second. What do you want? Okay, yeah, sure. It was basically like, please take out the trash. Yeah, I will. I love those messages. So it is blind as a bird, but who probably has the best vision. That is true. Yes. The world was warm and calm and safe. There were other worlds out there, just beyond the boundaries of the world, and they glowed softly within the light. It had always been this way, and little ever changed. Sometimes new worlds would pass between worlds. Sometimes one of the other worlds would get brighter and turn into light, and the moving light would take it away. Sometimes new worlds would be brought by the moving light. All in all, things stayed mostly the same. What is this? Are we playing Kingdom Hearts now? Light like darkness, dark like lightness. Sometimes though, very rarely, there would be dark. Dark was bad. Dark was scary. Dark didn't hurt, but felt like it should. Today it was odd. There had been more light at once than there had been ever before, but there was also dark following after the light. Then most of the light went away, but then stayed with the dark. That was scary. Dark had never stayed for long until now. But slowly, dark started to change. Slowly, little by little, the remaining light did something. And the dark turned into more light. Dark could become light. Scary and bad could become safe and comforting. That was good. I'm curious what this refers to. Does this refer to Grendel or dark Pokemon like Darkrai? If there is a common enemy, then even Darkrai would choose sides to become light, to be friendly with the humans, or at least on the side. That for him was the toast of an unhatched Pokemon. Huh. Okay. It might have been, but I need a little bit of time to understand everything. Probably later on, it's gonna be said. What's this? I do think that the beginning is the worms being interlapsed together. This part right here actually reminds me of Steins Gate. I mean, we have a gate here, but not time travel. No, you're right. Oh, hi Leah, welcome. It might have been. We will probably shed some light on this later on. Only if I could play the Kingdom Hearts theme song for that scene, I cannot. That is heavily copyrighted, sadly. Okay, let's not do that. It's a little bit too happy. Papalam, papalam. I know this song. I love that, but it's not fitting for now. There we go. We still have some happy music. Eventually, RWBY shifted in her seat. She could see a clock ticking away on the wall of the door, by the door, and her shift was about to be done. Come on, Zubat, it's Rice's turn to watch the eggs. Let's go get some sleep. Zubat fluttered at his trainer's side. His smile returned and the way of his heart. A minute later, RWBY was easing to open the door to the guest room. As she would be sharing with her teammates. It was just as homey as the rest of the house, though in a somewhat more impersonal way, and the three other members of the Team RWBY were spread out in a queen-size bed. Yang was in the middle, seeing as how she didn't need to worry about getting up without waking the others. And on her left, Blake's flying ears twitched. At every snore, the blonde let out. On Yang's other side, though, Rice wasn't resting so easily. She shifted, she writhed, she muttered under her breath. Her breath hitched in a faint sob, and RWBY could see a tear trace its way across the cheek. The story should be voiced with sub-female voice. I'm pretty sure I voiced it with "Oh yes," in the typical Word of Remnant type of voice. Oh, Vice! RWBY murmured. She knelt at the bedside, and took the pale girl's hand in her own as she tried to gently wake her. It was something of an open secret in Team RWBY's dorm that Vice suffered from nightmares. Roughly once in every few weeks, sometimes more often than that, one of the Harris roommates would find her in this state. There was an unspoken agreement among the three that they would simply wake her up as gently as possible and pretend to take no notice as their proud teammate tried to recover her composure. She never spoke of what put them on. Her friends never pressed her on it. The fact that the nightmares became more common after she had dodged a scroll call from Atlas, or after her father appeared on the news for one reason or other, spoke for itself. As did the faint motto of, "Father, please!" RWBY gently shook Vice's shoulder, then again, a little harder. The beggar snapped awake with a gasp, startled and wide-eyed. With? Oh, that's with. This beggar snapped awake with a gasp, yeah. She saw her partner kneeling beside the bed, but ignored the worried expression on the younger girl's face. RWBY, is it time for my shift? She whispered, mindful of the still sleeping pair taking up the rest of the bed. Yeah. Well done. Rice got up quickly, but jerked to a stop as Yang snatched and grumbled something a little... Stretched, not snatched. I was like, what did she snatch? Grumbled something unintelligible at the disturbance. She continued more slowly and bustled about a near silence, slipping on her shoes and reaching for a sword and jacket, all of which coincidentally kept her facing away from RWBY as she tried to regain her composure. Vice stopped, keeping her back turned. Do you want to talk about it? Talk about what? She stopped. Denying it at this point would make her look more pathetic than the admission would. No. Thank you, RWBY, but no. If you change your mind, I know. Do you want a hug? Vice turned and faced her partner for the first time she had gotten up. She gave a long silent look at the redhead, faint tear tracks still visible in the light from the hallway. No, thank you, RWBY. Vice laughed. I should have taken that hug. Vice moved robotically as she readied herself for her shift in the hatchery, recommending a cup of coffee. A cup of coffee. A cup of coffee. A cup of coffee. And a shudder-inducing first sip. Added enough creamer and sugar to make it barely fit for consumption. Thicker than mud indeed. The room full of eggs looked the same as it had before, as she had gone to bed. Vice sank down in the same chair RWBY had appointed, mug of coffee on the desk at her side, and then there was nothing left to do but wait. With nothing but her tools to keep her company, and no one to maintain her composure in front of, she drew her knees up to her chest, dropped her face into her arms, and let the tears fall. The nightmare had been a bad one. The stress of the last few days had been piling up. We are talking about nightmares, right? Dun, dun, dun. She prepared for it. She's got a cup of coffee. I'm pretty sure we don't need this dark music for that. Just a normal scary music. The nightmare had been a bad one. The stress of the last few days had been piling up, and combined with the old fears that never quite left her. The result had been potent. Her father, a looming titan of high expectations and ruthless demands for obedience. It had been after her recent steps out of under his shadow that she had started to truly realize how morally bankrupt and unscrupulous the man truly was. But the only way, she doesn't even know that yet, but the only way to keep any sort of control over her life was to court his approval. Her grandfather, the paragon upon which Vice tried to mold her life. It sounds like this sentence is not finished. Her grandfather, the paragon upon which Vice tried to mold her life. She had grown up hearing the tales of wonderful things the kindly man had done, and had devoted herself to becoming a worthy successor to the founder and the Schnee legacy. And yet, she couldn't help but fear that it wasn't enough, and she would never redeem her family name. Her sister, proud and demanding, Winter held herself to impossibly high standards, but tended to treat anyone else who didn't reach those standards as disappointments at best. That included Vice, a depressing amount of the time. She knew that Winter cared. She knew that she could rise to meet her elders' expectations, but nightmares are known for acknowledging what the mind knows. No, nightmares are about what the mind knows, and you actually think behind your suppressed knowledge. Her brother, enigmatic and unreadable. There were times Whitley was kind and understanding, and times when he seemed to seethe with resentment for being the last in line of succession. There were times when he was a sympathetic ear to listen, and times when his condescending smirk left her wondering how much he was throwing away as ammunition. Her mother, beaten down and defeated. Willow had once been a charming and vivacious woman, but now spent her days abusing her liver and wondering what had happened to her life. Vice couldn't help but fear that despite her talent, despite her skill, despite her accomplishments and drive, that her own fate would be the same. The White Fang, embodied as a tall man in a full-face grim mask and wielding a chainsaw with as much precision and brutality as a perfect balanced sword. He had gloated about having the chance to murder a Schnee, not Vice specifically, just a Schnee. As to who she was, didn't matter. And if it hadn't been for Blake, the madman might have, and would have, succeeded. Despite the inaccuracies, the illusionary chainsaw murderer from the previous night had reminded her uncomfortably of that fight, which wasn't happening. And speaking of previous night, course, nothing else seemed to embody the wonders and horrors of being trapped on an alien world like the existence of spectral beings that preyed on fears of travelers and used their unfathomable otherworldly abilities to play juvenile pranks. Even now, awake and aware, the dreams were haunting. Her father stripped her of her position as heiress. Inconsistency already, because this doesn't happen until the 5th volume, I think, and they left after the 2nd volume. They left the Pokemon world after the 2nd volume or 3rd volume. Her grandfather thundered that she had failed him. Whitley recited a litany of every embarrassment she had ever suffered. Winter's grew colder, and her opinion lower with every word. She was cast out to be killed by the White Fang, but not before they hunted down her teammates for daring to be her friends. She was left to wander endlessly into barren alien planet, alone forever. Being awake was no defense against dreams so vivid that struck so close to home. Alone. With no one to keep the mask on for. Wise wept. And we are back to light like darkness, light like darkness. The light, and the light that had been dark, had gone away. I know it should have been talking with a soft female voice, but there are only too many females in this. So her Pokemon, any more guesses? It just appears, not what actually was happened. Oh. Is it her? I don't know. It has to be, it doesn't have to be a nice Pokemon. I would think that it's a nice Pokemon, but it's not gonna be that. Because, Zubat. I have absolutely no idea what it can be. Maybe it's gonna be a Ditto. Haha! The light and the light that had been dark had gone away. For a while the world and everything around it had been back to normal. But now, it was the deepest, scariest, worst dark ever. Nothing like it had ever passed so near the world before. But there was something odd. There, in the middle of the dark, buried deep, covered up with layer after layer of the dark, it was a tiny bit of light. It was small and weak, but it was there. Is that what happened with the dark before? Had there been always light inside? And the other light had helped draw it out? But this tiny light didn't have any other light to help get rid of the dark. It was clear what needed to be done. This world would be missed. But there were more important things to do. Oh my goodness, I thought it was 2 seconds before you said. I mean, it's definitely a Pokemon who has a high sense of dignity and obedience and duty. That's what I was searching for. That I need to let this light out, and I guess this world and the other outside world was actually the egg, and the outside world darkness was referring to Vice. And the Winter family. Yeah, the Vice family. The Schnee family, that's it. And we know Vice needs someone to lure out to all the light. And the high sense of philosophy. It might have been a psychic type then. Come on, it's supposed to be a giant's voice. But I mean, have you ever heard Gummy talk? Let's just crack this egg. Even with her head buried in her arms, Vice heard a crack over her subs. A brass coat. It couldn't be. There was a second crack, fainter this time. All the same, Vice was certain she wasn't hearing things. She stood and surveyed the room. A few rows away, a web of thin black lines ran over the surface of green and white egg. A green and white egg. So it's not Spike. Oh my god! Nightmares forgotten for the moment, I suddenly approached the egg. And even as the cracks started to widen, and the white light began to pour through. Forget the name of the psychic version of the Eevee that might fit her pretty well. Can you even hatch not an Eevee? I don't remember if you can hatch evolutions. I didn't pay too much with the eggs, and I definitely didn't care about IVs and EVs when I was playing Pokemon back then. Oh no, it's Spike. No, Spike has a purple spots. The green was the egg Pokemon, Togepi. But all other Pokemon eggs had green spots as well. Vice suddenly approached the egg, even as the cracks started to widen, and white light began to pour through. Vice stood in front of the hatching egg, and her mind was both racing and completely blank. This wasn't supposed to happen. I was right about Vice being the one seeing the eggs hatch because it's a new life, and Vice never saw that happen. I mean, I'm pretty sure she wasn't there when Whitley was born. This wasn't supposed to happen. This wasn't supposed to happen. Why is this happening? Why is it glowing? She was supposed to do something, right? She didn't know anything about childcare, much less about alien childcare. What had Shabby said to do? Why was it glowing? The egg picked open with a brilliant flash of light. Vice was blinded for a few seconds, but the light faded and she could see again. The egg was in pieces, shattered around the metal tray. In its place, set. Vice wasn't sure what. The newborn creature was small, expected of the hatchling. It was vaguely humanoid shape, with a pure white skin. Oh. I know what it is. It's a rat. Is it a rat or it's one of this evolution? I mean, that fits her perfectly. The princess for a princess. I mean, that is, its evolution is the queen of psychic Pokemons in tournaments, so. Green hair fell over its face, parted by a pair of pinkish horns. Rounded and blunt and arranged front and back. It looked up at Vice curiously, and she caught a glimpse of a fine red eye peeking out from behind the curtain of the hair. Vice didn't breathe. She couldn't. There wasn't a thought in her head. All she could do was stare down at those eyes and wonder what was going on behind them. I mean, it's better because she could telepathically speak with. It's gonna be much easier to understand Zubat now. After a moment, the little creature seemed to come to a decision. It leaned forward, pushing against the tray, and slowly managed to rise to its feet. It forward a little, pinwheeling its tiny arms as it sought its balance. Vice started to reflexively reach towards it, but hesitated, unsure. The newborn finally managed to stand upright, and was still for a moment, almost seemingly take inventory of its surroundings. It stood just a bit over a foot tall, and significant portion of what its large head and the horns. Tentatively, the baby took a step forward. And then, with a sudden lash that started with Vice, it went from first steps to running. It took 2 hurried steps to the edge of the tray, and left 6-inch grab towards Vice, landing against her belly and clinging to her with arms spread wide. Vice grabbed the infant on instinct, stopping it from losing its grip and falling to the floor. We are doing the Scootaloo right here. Oh my my god! I can't do it that fast. The little face looked up, hair falling back so she could look at the hatchling in the eyes. There was so far looking them, an unspoken plea, but Vice didn't know what it was for. And then there was a faint rumble in the back of her mind. Soft as the faintest whisper, she could hear thoughts that were not her own. Don't be sad. And Vice's pain, fear, and doubt all melted away. Vice was unsure when she had stumbled back to the chair, he was still resting in her arms. She also wasn't sure how long she had sat there, the tiny body embracing her tightly. A few minutes, an hour, it didn't matter. She was gently stroking the baby's hair, her nightmares long forgotten. Eventually she gained enough presence of mind to actually think about things, and look down into Pokemon's eyes. So, what are you? Again, the tiny whisper of thought. How do you... how do you say this? Basically that. Vice slowly rose to her feet again, careful to keep the tiny body balanced in her arms. She returned to the tray. The yawn has come. It had come from. And it took up the clipboard hanging from of the front. Returning to her seat, the baby peered curiously at a sheet of paper listing all of its details. So, Ralph, now we know what to call you. Ralph looked up at her and smiled. Psychic type, so that's what I was hearing. I'm a psychic? Vice cooled down at the adorable little bundle. Yes, you are psychic. Pokemon are usually quite vocal about their species name. I am Groot indeed. You know about Groot? It's not actually what he was talking about. That was mentioned by the makers of the movie. It was just something Groot. It wasn't good first. They just misheard it. Yeah, I'm a psychic. What's a psychic? I explain that later, okay? Once I had a look at what of that pamphlet of Blake's, there's been to be more to it than the obvious, and even the obvious seems far-fetched. It says you are also a fairy. That's so cute. Hey, that's Gen 8 or something when she became a fairy, because fairy wasn't a typing back then when I was playing. I guess it's a fairy now. Yay, I'm cute! You certainly are. Let's see, note for care. Rats are known to be strong empaths who are drawn to positive emotions and shy away from negative feelings. Not sure if this is true before hatchling, but try to stay cheerful around the egg or the same. Wait, but then... They so need a Pokédex. Or a Rotom. They just need a Rotom, who can turn into a Pokédex. Let's look down at Ralph, eyes wide and questioning. Ralph looks back up at her. Did you hatch just so? You needed a hug. Ralph stares up a little and hugs Ralph closer. I did. I really did. Thank you. Yay! This Ralph is now Fluttershy. They sat like that for a while, simply enjoying each other's presence. Eventually, though, Vi slowly started to remember that she did have a test to perform, in light of the hatchling. Oh right, I forgot. I need to tell Mr. Shabby and his wife. Weiss stood up abruptly, and then slowed as she remembered the Pokemon she was carrying. The nice people who take care of their eggs, I need to let them know you have hatched. They are asleep right now, but they will want to meet you. She walked back to the tray Ralph had come from once more, but she hesitated as she saw how comfortable this tiny fairy was in her arms. Deciding there was no particular need to leave Ralph alone, even for the few minutes it would take to awaken the couple, Weiss took the newborn with her into the house. Yeah, that's why they are there, to be with the Pokemon, if they hatch. As she entered the kitchen, Weiss paused. She could hear the faint cough and creak of footsteps ahead, but there was no reason anyone else would be awake, except perhaps Blake had woken up early for a shift, but Weiss would have never been able to hear her steps. Yeah, I was about to say that you would not hear Blake. Her confusion only redoubled as an unfamiliar man entered the kitchen from the other door. Oh no. Let me guess. I'm just gonna guess right here. Oh wait, I just forgot that in Pokemon Black 2 there are no such thing as what I'm thinking. Let's just do this. Give me a second. Oh, there is. I'm just stupid and I couldn't find it. But there you go. Is that it? If there is someone who is inside and it's not the couple and not Blake, Weiss Young. Is it a stranger going to protect the world from devastation? Yes, it is. It has to be. I mean, it's not Team Rocket's team, but... Confusion redoubled as an unfamiliar man entered the kitchen from the other door. He was tall and wiry, dressed in an utilitarian jumpsuit, in all black, with a cap pulled low to hide his eyes and a bright red R on his chest. He looked just as surprised to see her as she was to see him, but the mystery man recovered faster. Looking over his shoulder back to the living room, he yelled, "Emmett, you idiot! You missed one!" The dog turned back to Weiss. He sneered dismissive, though also comfortably appraising, as he looked her over. "Alright, girlie, you know the drill, hand over the runt! And don't try to be a hero. And you just might get out of this in one piece." Weiss narrowed her eyes. She noticed that Ralph was shivering as a tiny Pokemon stared at him, and gently set Ralph down on the nearest counter with a quiet reassurance. Turning back to the intruder, she said, "Let me be certain. Are you robbing me?" Why does this remind me of RWBY? The man rolled his eyes. "No, I'm wearing Team Rocket uniform because we made a wrong turn to be a Halloween party. Of course I'm robbing you!" Ah, but I'm so good at being a hero. Oh! Weiss drew recognized her, the blade shining under the kitchen lights. Alright then. Behind the man, Weiss could see the two others in the living room, all the same black costume. They moved up behind the first, drawn by the shouting. One laughed when he saw Weiss's weapon. "Oh yeah, your pointy stick is really scary, kid. Be careful you don't break a nail." The Sandman laughed, roughly pulling out a Pokemon. "Better watch your ears, Bob. She might scream. Go, Eradicate." "It's a rat." The bar burst open in the middle of the kitchen floor, and fat brown rat with an oversized fang appeared, snarling at Vice threateningly. Alright, Bat! Put down the pig sticker and hand over all your Pokemon, and maybe Raticate won't use you as a toothpick. The base of the sword began to spin, and the yellow crackle built up on the blade. Before any of the teens could even catch on it, Vice pointed her weapon at the rat, and the bolt of lightning crossed the distance in an instant. Since when does Vice have electricity? That's a made up dust! Because the yellow one is not electricity in that. Raticate, I don't think she ever done electric moves. Raticate, blackened by the suit and twitching with the residual electricity, coughed once and fell flat on his face. The three dogs stared at the unconscious normal type, them at Vice, who slowly started walking towards them. Not laughing anymore, they all reached more Pokeballs as they blacked away into the living room. She can produce all elements with her sword, but she is best with ice. I'm pretty sure. Wait. She has never used that before. I mean, she might have got another type of dust for this route. But yeah, I just looked up. I remember her opening up the chest where Mr. Eister is, and there was actually yellow dust in it. So, yes, Vice used Thunder Attack! It just occurred to me that she might have problems with supply dust in this world. Well, I don't know if it was I don't know who it was, but they definitely said that they had dusted, what is it called? Elemental stones? Oh, I know it's not the name. I forgot about the names of that. But arrow stones, that's it. They might be the form of dust here. But they are expensive. And rare. She didn't give them a chance to deploy them. With a sharp gesture, spinning Vice's loafing lips appeared beneath their feet, angled towards the front door, which now sported a black broken doorknob, and had been propped open, and turned black as gravity dust was channeled into them, with a trio of alarmed shouts. Oh, alarm shouts? Okay. It's like, trio of alarm what? Alarm shouts, the dogs were lounged into the yard. The rain had stopped a few hours before, but the hard-packed earth had been reduced to thick mud, and the tumbling criminals plowed a shadow trench in the slippery muck. An unfamiliar voice called from the hall leading towards the bedrooms. Hey Bob! What do you mean? Oh, it's the woman probably. Hey Bob, what do you mean I missed one? Hey, get there! Towsy! Hypnosis! Vice had to face the new threat and saw the intruder. This one a bit shorter and fatter than the others. And at his side was a tapir. It was bipedal with a brown lower body and a bright yellow upper half. Towsy began moving his hands in sweeping motions and chanting his name rhythmically. Drowsy, drowsy. It was oddly soothing, and Vice found herself feeling rather sleepy all of a sudden. But she fought the feeling and repeated her grave catapult trick, sending the trainer and Pokemon vaulting into the yard, just as the fifth thief was running towards the door. What is Sam here going off? There were now 5 criminals and a single Pokemon sprawled in the farmyard, groaning as they pulled themselves to their feet. The yard's lights, their motion sensors triggered, illuminated by the muddy expanse. In the kitchen window, Rats was standing with her face pressed up against the glass, watching with interest. Other glyphs formed just in front of the porch, hovering an inch above the mud, and Vice confidently stepped forward onto it. She passed her saving throw, yep. Luckily she slept before this. I almost pity you. You chose the worst possible night to try this. Now tell me what you've done to my friends and the shabbies. And maybe you will still have all limbs when the police gets here. The pudgy one with the drowsy spat out a mouthful of mud and stared up at her. Drowsy, put them all under my hypnosis. They won't be waking up for hours, you little brat, and that means you are all alone. I didn't like the sound of that, but hid behind the predatory smile. You say that it makes a difference? Like it makes a difference? As far as I'm concerned, I've just been having the target-rich environment all to myself. The intruders hesitated for a second. She didn't sound like she was bluffing. All the same, they weren't about to back down from a teenage girl who didn't even have any Pokemon. 4 Pokeballs burst open in the yard, and from listening to what the trainers and Pokemon said, Mice could tell that Drowsy had been joined by Ekans, Houndour, Gloom, and Machop. Gloom. Well, out of these, Houndour is the most problematic. Vice squared an eyebrow at the display and twitched her hand. A line of glyphs extended into the midst of crowd, and she began to move. Vice walked back into the house, feeling fairly satisfied. That fight... Oh. It's already done. The fight is already done. Literally. But yeah. There you go. I thought we were gonna see the fight, but no. We are not gonna do that. Gain 15 XP, yay! She is far from gaining another level at this rate. Vice walked back into the house, feeling fairly satisfied. That fight, easy as it has been, had worked wonders to bleed off a little stress. The idiots who had thought to rob her house under protection of Vice knew wouldn't make that mistake again. It hadn't been a clean sweep, unfortunately. One tug, the pudgy one or the others had caught Emmett, had taken off running towards the forest, while Vice had been dealing with another, who had tried to leap into the unmarked van they had pulled up next to the door. She didn't know if she was planning to flee or run her own, but she did know that he wasn't going anywhere. It's a he or a she at this point. She didn't know if he was planning to flee or run on her own. Oh, run her down. Okay, my bad. It's a he. Run her down. Okay. I have no idea why I didn't see the D here. Because I'm not looking at the D. But she didn't know that he wasn't going anywhere until the spires of ice she had created to cover the doors and destroy the engine melted. Wouldn't make that mistake again because they are dead? Maybe. I wouldn't. Luckily, most of the humans here have aura as well, because she could have easily killed them. Even with just gravity dust. They could fall so badly that they break their neck or anything. Just think about that. So one escapee, one trapped in their own getaway vehicle, the three beaten silly with the flat of the blade, and bound with a few zip ties Vice had found in the farm's tool shed. 5, no 6 she had forgotten eradicate. Pokemon zapped, torched, frozen, and otherwise rendered unable to continue fighting, and returned to their Pokeballs. Not a bad 10 minutes work. Okay, priorities. The police needed to be summoned, the rest of RWBY and Shabbies needed to be checked on, and Ross was trying to skate across the surface of the counter on one leg, imitating what she had seen Vice do through the window. Lacking both eyes and grips, she only managed to skate 2 inches before tumbling forward, end of the counter. Vice broke her personal record for fastest grip creation, making a platform just beneath the edge of the counter for the tiny psychic type to land on. She hurried over, picking up the giggling infant and verifying that she was alright. Rats, please be more careful. You could have been hurt. Rats smiled up at Vice, her eyes wide and gleaming. She watched the whole fight as Vice demolished the criminals outside, and had come to a decision. At less than an hour old, Rats already knew what she wanted to be when she grew up. Be like you. Vice didn't pick up on the significance of that faint whisper at the time, and simply assumed she meant skating. Well, I'm sure you can learn to do that, but you will need to be more careful. It took me a long time and lots of practice, and I did hurt myself a few times before I got it right. Now come with me. We need to make sure those low lives didn't hurt my friends, or the nice people who let us stay here. The good news was that everyone else looked completely unharmed, simply sleeping normally and comfortably. Yang was softly snoring, RWBY was mumbling about cookies, Zubat dangled from the ceiling light, and Blake was curled up tightly, as was her custom. The bad news was that nothing Vice did would wake them up. Shouting in their ears, shaking their shoulders, nothing got any reaction. The Shabbies were much the same. Yet they are under hypnosis. They are under a spell. Vice sought out a telephone in the living room, and was grateful to see that it had been labeled buttons for speed dialing emergency services. She pressed the one with the blue badge printed on it. It's not gonna be the Officer Johnny taking it up. It's gonna be like the background. Da la 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 ba 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 la la. If you know that, you know what I'm talking about. And quickly found herself summarizing the events of the night to a desk officer who suddenly sounded a lot less sleepy on the Magic Ball Team Rocket. Also, the trash collectors arrived. You hopefully don't hear that. And just for that, let's do this. There you go, that's the blue badge. If you know, you know. The officer promised that the police were on their way, complete with a paddy wagon, to gather up the prisoners in a tow truck for the wrecked van, but the roads were in bad enough condition that they would likely be delayed navigating them. He also reassured that hypnosis, when used on people who were already asleep, would just keep them that way for a time, and would wear off eventually. Medic would be accompanying the police just in case, though. With nothing more to do but wait for the arrival of the police, Vice settled into the chair, gently cradling Grass in her lap. Little Fairy yawned, worn out by all the excitement. Whew! The other yawned as well. And Vice couldn't help but smile as he snuggled up against her. Vice found herself humming as she watched her little passenger doze, and her smile grew wider. The rest didn't really know any lullabies, but really any song would do, if you sang it slowly and softly enough. And there was one song RWBY played all the time, that certainly felt right for the circumstances. Her voice, lifting and ethereal, filled the room softly. Ra's breathing slowed as she drifted off, the song carrying her into the dreamland. I don't know of that song. Wait. I was right. I recognize that first sentence. Yep. Sadly, I cannot play that either. Because Ch13 has all and every song protected immediate copyright strike, and it would just stop my stream immediately if I started to play that. They could you as small and helpless. They see you as just a child. Surprised when they find out that a warrior will soon run wild. As Raz fell asleep, she began to dream. Silver flashed in the light as a beautiful god of war danced among her foes. Their shadow forms indistinct and utterly unimportant. With her grace and guile, she effortlessly defeated them all, the sword in her hand never resting as it shot out the cruel and heartless. Then sing it! I mean, she is singing it as a lullaby. Not as the rock song as it is. Prepare for your greatest moment. Prepare for your finest hour. The dream that you've always dreamed is suddenly about to flower. The god of war was joined by a glowing white figure, long hair trailing behind her, another sword in her hand. Together, no monster or tyrant could stand against them, and they glided effortlessly from triumph to triumph. Raz smiled in her sleep. With her big sister at her side, she knew she could do anything. Anything you can do, I can do better. Hush down quiet now, hustle the sleepy head. Hush down quiet now! It had nearly been dawn when the police arrived, apologizing for the delay. Vice would have been more annoyed, but judging from the high and the dry mud clung from the sides of the police van, Shabby hadn't been exaggerating when she described the road into town as a nightmare in the rain. The ranking sergeant, a blue-haired woman named Officer Jenny, who who immediately take charge of the situation and set her subordinates to the gathering of the miscreants. One of the men was still strapped by the eyes, but Jenny had sent out another little puppy she had called Crowlet, which melted away the eyes by breathing fire on it. I can only imagine Blake's reaction if she had seen it do that. Yeah, I can imagine Blake having one of the dogs. It's either Growlit, a Puccino, or a Houndoom. That she's gonna get. That's my prediction. Wise thought, as Jenny paged through her notes. Shabby, Kimmy, Ruby, and Blake were scattered around the yard, surveying the damage. They had woken up fine and had been quite shocked to have slept through a pitch battle in the fourth yard. Rice had been worried about the old couple's reaction, but what about Yang? But they hadn't cared about the craters in the yard or scorch marks in the wall in the slightest. They simply been thrilled that one of their house guests has so truly thrashed the criminals that threatened to rob their home and steal the eggs. Jenny finished reviewing her notes and pointed to Pat. 4 out of 5 members of the Dalton gang? Not bad at all! You did very well! The Dalton gang! Ha! Ha! I don't... Is it a reference to the... what is it called? I don't remember the name, but I think I know what it is referencing. You did very well stopping them, Miss Nee. The reprobates probably have been thrown in our sight for quite a while. I'm happy to be an assistant officer. Rice answered them demurely. Behind her, Ruby cheered as Growlit went gambolling happily by, Rats clinging to his back. Whee! Not many would have been able to fight off 5 trainers at once. It's good luck you happen to be awake in the hatchery when they made their move. If you had been put off the hinges as well, all those eggs would have been taken, and they probably would have eventually been put to work helping Team Rocket commit more crimes. Vi smiled at the implied compliment, even as she internally shuddered at the thought that Ross being taken by those dogs. To be fair, any of my friends would have been able to deal with them just as well. It just happened to be my shift on watch. Behind her, Ruby cheered louder as Zubat swept past, Ross swinging from his pair of tails. Whee! Your friends are that strong too? Should I be watching for the 4 of you when the silver conquest stars stop? The police woman asked with a smile. Mice had no idea what Jenny was talking about, but didn't want to admit it. We don't have any plans to be involved in that, for the time being. Oh, that's a pity. You are obviously a skilled trainer. It would be interesting to see what you could do against a real opponent. Rice frowned a bit, before things clicked. She thinks I use Pokemon to fight them. Probably better that way. If I corrected her, that would lead some awkward questions. Especially like, why do you have a weapon? I'm curiously surprised that they are not asking about the weapons. Literally. I mean, Rice's rapier is fine, it could have been just a prop. But Ruby had a sight. A gun. Blake's had a sword. And a gun. Yang's weapon is concealed, that's fine. Also, still, where is Yang? The conversation was interrupted, as one of the other officers shouted from the tree line. Blake surveyed the forest as one of the police officers poked around a few muddy tracks, trying to decide if there was any point pursuing the lost rocket dog. There wasn't really any need for Blake to be out there here, but it got her away from the dog. So that was good enough. Of course I have a dog-like Pokemon, and of course Ruby had to be fawning over the tiger-striped flea bag as soon as she saw it. She just couldn't escape, could she? Just had a funny thought. What if someone tries to capture Blake in a Pokeball? Probably would not work, just like it wouldn't work with the Grim. But as it's like as they mentioned that Pokemon already know when they hatch that a human is a human and the Pokemon is a Pokemon. And do they know what Blake is? Blake is not a human. She was shaken from a silent rant by the officer jumping to his feet and pulling aside a bush. What is it? Yahtzee, that's what! And the fifth Darwin, all wrapped up in a bow. Blake followed him and saw that what he meant. Another mud-encrusted man in a black jumpsuit was laying on his back, unmoving but for a steady rise and fall of his chest. His boot was sticking out from under the shrubbery, which was why the cop had seen him. But you can see someone trying, right? If they see the cat ears, yes. But they don't, because of the bow that had made so many people think that she is just a normal human girl. Blake started the criminal as the officer shouted back for the squad medic, but she couldn't tell what was wrong with him. He was clearly awake, his eyes darting about wildly, but he neither moved nor spoke. What do you think happened to him? The cop crouched by the fallen thief, scratching his chin in thought. Well, if I had to guess, I would say Ghastly got him. Blake looked at him curiously. She recognized that name. Ghastly can't do this? Well, it is quickly pointing to the place that Blake is gonna get to Ghastly. It's the same Ghastly that had been following them from the mansion. Who was curious if Blake wants to be a trainer. Oh yeah, seen it before. That spits a mild paralytic, right? See? Not really dangerous, but it can leave a Pokemon paralyzed if it gets them good with a lick attack. He might get it even worse. He will be fine. It wears off on its own before long. Heh, he chuckled. Just long enough to, in its case. Blake could whack it back. The Pokeball that is, with a tiny socket if she had one. Back to the sender. I mean, she could use her sword. The medic and a few more officers arrived and began tending the dog. The medic producing a yellow spray bottle from his first aid bag. Blake stepped aside to give them room for work, and ignored the sudden burst of angry profanity from the ragged tongue as she suddenly appeared to move again. She stared out into the forest, wondering. Ghastly, huh? Like the purple gas balls from back the mansion? The police had finished their work, and the last member of Team Rocket's attack was being frog-marched into the police van to join his teammates, still spitting curses. When he saw Vice, he read about his efforts, yelling at her angrily. You little bat! You just wait! The team's not going to take this lying down! You're gonna get space for this! Vice got at him coolly, unimpressed. Coolly! It's like his scoop of coffee. That's a ghastly Pokemon, yep. Oh, I'm shaking, not really. No, really, you got me off, right? And of the idiots who couldn't win a 5-on-1 fight. Yeah, and next time she won't be alone. RWBY agreed. Blake nodded, giving the thief a predatory grin. Still, Vice young. Is she still asleep? Vice turned away from him dismissively, flipping her ponytail over her shoulder. Don't think I haven't noticed that she is not here. Shabby and his wife approached. Whilst in Kimmy's arms, the fairy type looked annoyed about something, but she lit up when she saw Vice and reached out towards her. Shabby smiled warmly at the pale girl. Vice, I wanted to thank you again for saving our home and the eggs. You've done so much for us. Weiss blushed and tried to wave it off. It was nothing, really. It was a lot more than that, I would say. My wife and I have been talking, and we wanted to offer you a reward, which is also sort of favor to ask you. Seeing Weiss confuses look, Kimmy continued her explanation. But right away it has list. Even if Blake shows her cat ears to someone, there is no way someone would believe the ears are real. Yeah, there are definitely accessories that look like cat ears in that. And not just cat ears, grounded ears and other stuff as well. I mean, we have seen a lot of Pokemaniacs in full Pikachu bodysuits and Eevee bodysuits in the game, so we can be sure that there are accessories like that. Razia doesn't have a claim on her. I was right about this, that one of the eggs who doesn't have a trainer is gonna hatch. Shoot, she wasn't even one of the eggs we were expecting to hatch soon. Normally we would just help raise her until we found a trainer for her. Oh, she was ready to make it her own. But it looks like she made up her mind. Why should I fight them? And she saw where they were going with this. Behind her, Blake and Ruby shared a surprised look. You want me to? In Kiwi's arms, Raz were getting frustrated as being unable to reach Weiss. She screwed up her face in concentration, focusing on wanting to be over there instead of over here, and pop! Suddenly, she learned teleportation. She was over there. Weiss gasped in shock as Raz appeared in her arms with a brief flash of pink light. Wait, what the? So, this Raz is changing from Fluttershy into Flurryheart at the moment. Wait, what the? Oh, would you look at that? Raz went again and told herself teleport. Kimmy laughed. Kinda proves my point, doesn't it? Yeah, I don't think she would be willing to accept any trainer but you are now anyway. Weiss stared down at the Raz's white dial as the little Pokemon beamed up at her. Raz followed nervously. I've got to be honest, my friends, I tend to get caught up in dangerous situations often. Ludicrously often. It wouldn't be safe. Raz stood up, balancing on Weiss's arms. She climbed up on Weiss's shoulder, resting hand on top of her head to keep her balance, and pointed out off towards the horizon. Adventure! Ruby screamed with barely contained delight, and even Blake had to choke back an "Aww." The funny stepped forward and rested a gentle hand on Weiss's other shoulder. We will manage. Yeah! Ruby cheered. She will be fine with us! Zora swept over and circled happily. Welcome to the team, kid! Raz hopped off Weiss's shoulder and back into her arms, hugging her tightly. Staying with big sister, yay! Weiss couldn't help it. She held Raz close, accepting the Pokemon as her own. Shelby smiled softly at the sight. Did you want to give her a nickname? We've got a few spare Pokeballs around here somewhere. I have an engraving tool in the shed if you want. Is it gonna call her Winter? Probably not. Weiss and Ruby both perked up at that. Nickname? Yeah, some people prefer to have something to call a Pokemon other than their species name, especially useful when you got a couple of the same kind. Ruby looked up at Zubat, her eyes wide. In hindsight, it was actually kind of obvious, but she hadn't thought of naming him. She resolved to take the appropriate appellation for a friend, even as Weiss looked down at into Raz's eyes. Whisper. I'll call you Whisper. Is that okay? That's a good name. I'm a Whisper, yay! Yang walked out of the house, scratching and yawning. Ah, there she is! Oh man, I slept like a rock last night! She stopped short, staring at the departing police vehicles. the damage to the farmyard and Rice hanging the daylights out of the little white and green baby thing. What the heck did I miss? A lot. Only a lot. There was once an oasis in the middle of the desert map that made up the western half of the continent's surface. Then humans destroyed it through greed and laziness. Approximately no one was surprised by this, except for the humans who did it. The land where the oasis once stood has given way to an industrial wasteland, with patchwork semi-nomadic settlements slowly shuffling around factories, both functioning and abandoned. Welcome to Wakio. Hope you like his stroke. We are back to Remnant. Few dozen miles away from the city's official borders, a glowing portal of the rainbow light hovered a few feet above the sands. A tide of black and bone trudged towards it, passing through us in a steady stream. They moved with precision and purpose, without hesitance and instinct getting in the way of efficiency. They are way too efficient, so they might go meet up with Grendel. There were only two Grimm anywhere near that portal that weren't moving toward it. One was a truly massive werewolf with a club jagged. Oh. Wait. So he found an open portal, got back to Remnant, took the other Grimm and took it with him into the other team, into the other world. Or they opened it. With a club of jagged bone replacing its right hand. The other was much smaller, an hour gelatinous black goo, studded with bone plates, and arranged with spikes at the bottom, and trailing long red single tipped tendrils beneath. Okay, now we know who orders Grendel. Because that is the little octopus thingy. Grendel stared into the depths of that eye-like blob, and the face of his mistress stared back. I mean, it was kind of obvious that it is actually answering the queen. But I hope it wasn't not. Wasn't not. That's double negative again. Thousands of miles away, within the security of her throne room, Salem. Should be good. There we go. She is the leader of the new Team Plasma. Thousands of miles away, within the security of her throne room, Salem communed with one of the greatest of her servants. It had brought her intriguing news, and now it was up to her to decide what to do with it. Huntresses in other words. That would be the cause of concern on its own, but one with silver eyes. That has the potential to be a significant problem, or perhaps an opportunity. She considered the issue quietly, before coming to a decision. You have done well to bring me this information. Your orders are as follows. Continue coordinating the assaults on the other world. I am aware of the attrition problem you are facing from the local wildlife. I will keep the flow of reinforcements coming whenever a portal reveals itself. Continue to gather intelligence on potential targets or other objects of interest. Kill anyone who tries to pass through the portals without my blessing. Do not seek out the huntresses. I will be sending specialists to deal with them, especially the silver eyes. Well, we see another team joining the Pokemon world. It is definitely gonna be Mercury, Emerald, Cinder. I don't know if Torchwick is gonna be here. Probably not. She smiled. Genuine affection coloring her tone. You're truly a marvel. If I had a dozen like you, I could tear down any kingdom I chose at will. If I had 100, boast this world, and the other would already be mine. The bow stared into the seer, giving no reaction to either the orders or the praise. It simply waited for either further instructions or to be dismissed. I'm out of coffee. Suddenly it twitched and looked over its shoulder, back into the portal, which was slowly starting to shrink. Without waiting for Salem to say so, Gunnar turned his back on the seer, and the crowd of Grimm parted for a great beast as it approached. I'll be sending specialists who are armed with a blindfold so we don't have to look at those silver eyes. I mean, it's not the silver eyes. It doesn't work like that. It's not like hypnosis. You have to look into it. I wear my sunglasses at night. Haha! They are most likely a projecting weapon in RWBY. In RWBY's world. It's like, how would I think the silver eyes work? They project back light. That's how it works. Or maybe not, because they even work in the darkness. It's strange how it works. The rest of the assembled Grimm began to drift away. Some heading towards the settlements nearby, others back to the trackless desert face. In a fortress, Salem quirked an eyebrow. A marvelous specimen, she mused. What a terrible conversationist. She rose to her feet, robes draped around her bare form. The Black Queen of the Grimm seemed to glide as she passed through the eldritch halls of her fastness. She contemplated how the new intelligence she had been provided altered her plans, even if the new possibilities arose. This is really strange of where we are at RWBY right now, because the first time we saw Salem was in volume 5 or 6, I think. From the but when they entered the altar, it was right after the tunnel attack. From the start, her priority had been to prevent contact between people of Remnant and those of the world of the other side of those mysterious portals. The amount of dust armaments had increased the humans' ability to weather the storm of her grim hundredfold, and to them to also gain the power of the creatures that went through the portals. The creatures already happily allied with the humans that lived there. Sure, but she still technically existed in the world prior to volume 5, right? Yes, but luckily, I mean, we definitely know, even if she sends reinforcements there, Team Cinder is not gonna lose, or at least be caught. If we still continue on with the... Okay, this is an off story which still compiles into the actual story. But luckily, Cinder is not as strong at this point. If this is after volume 2. Well, it would be a bit of a setback. When the Potters had last formed, over 1,000 years ago, she had simply thrown Grimm through them in a very crude form of reconnaissance in force. While the deserts of Earth, a terrible name, might as well have got a dirt, had forced her horse back, they hadn't dared to venture into Grimm's territory on the other side. There had likewise been little chance of remedies. Venturing through the portals, they well knew the danger of traveling too far from the crude mud hut villages. Even if they had tried, the mass of Grimm that would converge on each one as it was discovered would have made it nigh impossible to pass through. When the portals had begun appearing once more, Silver defaulted to what had worked before. But that seemed to have been miscalculation in the hindsight. She hadn't taken into consideration the greater lethality and bravery modern huntsmen and hunters possessed, nor the way that humans on both ends seemed to even more curious than ever before. Ah well, live and learn. Oof. Live and learn. What was that scene? I remember this sentence right here, but Silver's works very similar to Patronus Charm. Yes, conditions for activation is similar. Expecto Patronum, and also it's silver as well. And it works well against the darkness creatures, who actually feed on negative emotions. The presence of the few hunters to the portals was a sign she would need to be more cautious. In and on itself, it was no more than an irritation, but larger scale contact would become a problem. The unpredictable and uncontrollable nature of the portals would hinder any such thing, but she wasn't about to simply assume it wasn't possible. And on top of it all, there was one with silver eyes. Salem reached into a destination, the meeting hall, where most useful non-Grimm minions waited. Without bothering with pleasantries, she looked to the whip. Whipped-in man with disturbing leer, crouched atop his chair. Tyrion, I have a test for you. Alright, I forgot! Cinder, Emerald, and Mercury are at the Huntsman Academy right now. So they couldn't be taken to the other side. Tyrion, on the other hand, is more looking like a Pokemon than Blake. And he is more dangerous than Cinder at this point. But that is the end. That is the end of this chapter. And it's amazing. It was a really good chapter. I can tell you that. As you could tell from my yawning as well. And probably you didn't hear that, but my stomach was grumbling. I'm hungry as well. So this is where I'm gonna stop. It was nice to see that Ralts is gonna be the one on the side of Vice. It makes sense. It's a princess-like Pokemon. It can learn a lot. It can probably learn the same ice skating techniques as well. It would be nice to see an actual. I forgot the name again. What's the evolution of Ralts? With an actual weapon. Wow! Wait, I didn't think about that. What if Ralts actually starts imitating perfectly Vice? It's a psychic type, so it could make somewhat similar over attack type like Glyphs, She wouldn't use glyphs, but similar movements. All she needs is a sword. Is having a sword for a Pokemon, is giving a weapon to a Pokemon allowed in a tournament? Was that ever happened? Did that ever happen? I mean, some Pokemon already have their swords and weapons with them, like the concrete boulder type Pokemons where they have like a steel beam who they swing over. And obviously Saita has a sword hand. So can you give a sword to a psychic type? Or a rapier to a psychic type? Would that be allowed? I mean, in normal fights, it would make sense, but Ralts needs 2 specs for a sword. Well, if it evolves, it will need a bigger one. But there would be only one problem with this. You can't take the sword into a Pokeball. That's the only problem there. I mean, rapiers are not that heavy, and Vice could take the sword while Ralts is inside the Pokeball. But yeah, I still see it happening. It's obvious that Blake is gonna get the Ghastly following her and the team. It's probably somewhere around, sneaking past everyone. Looking around, Blake already might have noticed where it is. Who knows? But yeah, it is as I thought, that the Grim was sentenced, or at least told, to go through the portals. It's not like it was like, oh, it's Grendel who has been taking them. No, it's Salem's thing that we need to check on this this new word, and now it makes more sense that it has been written down that it is because of the Pokemon that she wants to take over this world. But because she is trying to take over that world, that is why the people of Earth with the Pokemon are gonna be rebelling against her. Second time in that world is strangely fond of spoons, but don't they know? There is no spoon! Haha! And the cake is a lie as well. Are you sure they have spoons, Quill? Are you sure those are not just illusions? Have you ever tried to take a spoon from Alakazam? I'm pretty sure no one has been able to do that. But yeah, I love this, especially I love this last part when it tells us why why the Grimm are pouring into the other world. And it actually proves that Salem is the one who's sending them, and Salem is not the one who opened the portals. So it's just, oh, they are opening and closing on a whim. They might be illusions. I'm thinking about that. Can Ralts materialize a weapon? Is there a possibility to make a weapon that is solid and it's not there? You mean like just a spoon? There is no spoon. There is literally no spoons here. Is that a possibility? To make a weapon out of thin air and make it thicker? It doesn't even have to need a form. It might be just an Excalibur from Fate Knight. That it's there, it's invisible, And it's a weapon. Can she do that? Or did anyone try to do that? Who knows? But I can see that happening as well. I mean, it already knows teleport. At level 2. Right? It probably leveled up watching the fight, so level 3. Most of the Pokemon hatch at level 2. There's Pokemon that are capable of all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And psychic types are the most capable of learning new things. And I don't know if they are gonna have like the thing that, oh, we can only have 4 moves. I don't think so. Because this follows more like the, not just the games, it's more like the actual story where it doesn't have to be 4 moves that you can learn. Also, I'm gonna be curious how are they gonna teach TMs and HMs. Teleport is going to be major handy to get them about. Yes, that is true. And it doesn't have to have the obscurities of actual the gameplay mechanics that you can just only teleport back to the Poké Center. You can teleport anywhere. But yeah, let's see. Tomorrow, at the same time, I'm gonna continue with this. Let's see. Chapter 14 is a little bit smaller. So, it depends on how fast I will be. I might actually make 2 chapters tomorrow. That is gonna be 13 or 14k words, but it depends. Because I'm gonna work tomorrow at after 12 PM. But yeah, now I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go and eat. And then I'm gonna go to Twitch and stream some Stardew Valley just to calm my voice down. I don't have to talk there a lot. I'm just gonna chill. If you want to, you can come. You can see out on Discord. It's easy to get there. It's much easier like this one than this one, because I don't think you can actually click on my name that I'm streaming right now, because I don't think I'm put together with YouTube. I'm not connected to YouTube on Discord. But yeah, tomorrow at the same time I'm gonna come back and continue with the world. But yeah, thank you for being here and see you next time. Bye bye.